Round 2 of the XKR and the final boss has been defeated. Let's get started. This is the 2001 Jaguar XKR that you guys have seen in a video recently where the cluster and some issues are going on that was really messed up. It was throwing down the communications bus, throwing all kinds of electrical issues and codes. And we really couldn't dive in to see if there's other issues going on with the car until we could get that fixed. But we did get it running. It came into the shop not running. And if you watch the previous video, you'll see that the fuel pumps were bad. It had been sitting for a while. And we have those things fixed. We're going to take a look at those today. But it only opened up a can of worms to allow us to see that now more things are wrong. So if you want to get a tour around the car or looking underneath or everything like that, you can go to the previous video. We have all that for you. But right now we're going to jump into the interior and show you guys the progress that we have made. So this time around you can see that it does not have 470,000 miles anymore. It has 101, which actually the car only has around 40,000 miles. I'll tell you the story here in a minute, but Mrs. Wizard, why don't you go ahead and start the vehicle?
Okay, ladies and gents, let's try this out. The Wizard has captured me in the car. I'm on the lift, off the ground. Here we go. Well, that's one improvement. It does say doing a system check. The bonnet's open. Okay, that's not abnormal around here. It's doing good. We're not doing 190. Okay, let's go ahead and start it.
Go ahead and put it into gear and...
There we go, ladies and gents.
20 miles an hour. It's working. Tach works, speedometer works. But you can see our fuel gauge is not currently working. It says it's E. So the cluster you just looked at is actually none of these that I have been talking about in previous videos. This is the original cluster, and I kind of run out of ideas of what it could be, and I sent it to my buddy in Boca Raton, Florida, who has also asked me not to reveal his business to you guys. He only works with professional shops only, not for individuals. So I sent him this cluster here. He did some testing. He took the circuit board and everything apart, and he said, "It's bad news, Car Wizard. It is irreparable. It is dead. This thing is like, it needs to be buried out in the backyard somewhere. It's gone." I told him I had tried another good used cluster, but unfortunately I made a mistake when I ordered it, and I ordered one for 1998. Some of the earlier Jags. 2000 and newer uses a different style of a bus. So this one is useless. It did no good. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. The same guy I just mentioned that's in Florida, my buddy that fixes electronics for me, was friends with Bentley dealerships, Jaguar dealerships, Ferrari dealerships. He done a lot of work for these people. He contacted the local, I think it was the Miami Jaguar dealership, and talked to them about the problem, and they said, "Hey, we just so happen to have the actual XKR supercharged proper cluster for that car, a good used one, and it will be able to plug in and just work like it is. The downside is it will not reflect 40,000 miles, it will reflect 101,000 miles. We've already contacted the customer, and he's happy if it says 400,000 miles. He just wants it, please just make it work."
And actually the bad one does say 400,000 miles.
The bad one still has 470,000 miles, yes. The new one is fully functional. The miles don't keep counting. It's at 100. That's the best we're going to be able to do. We can't change the odometer. It's kind of an illegal thing to do. But all the gauges work. We've actually tested the fuel gauge. The gauge itself is fine. Now it's time to go over some of the other things we found that were bad. Once we got the cluster replaced, it brought the bus back online. Everything could communicate like it's supposed to because this one wasn't shorting it out. We only found out more problems and errors. It had a code for the left front speed sensor. It had a code for an oxygen sensor heater circuit. And we also noticed that the fuel gauge was not showing anything but E with the low fuel light on. We knew we have some gas in there, but we were never able to check if that worked on the old cluster here because it's dead. So we're like, okay, is it a problem with the gauge or this or that? And finally, like I just mentioned, we found the issue had nothing to do with the cluster at all. Let's head on over here to this little sending unit we pulled out of the gas tank. So this is the little fuel sending unit that's actually in the trunk. You can get to it. It's real simple. We don't have but like 5 gallons of fuel in there, so we're able to just remove it and put a cloth in place so the fumes don't get too bad while we have it out. But we pulled it out to check it. And let me show you guys what we found. Put it to ohms. I have the test leads on the 2 terminals here, and we should be able to see it's like 110 ohms, 200, 300. There's like some dead spots or something in there. You can see I can just go back and forth. It should be about 500 ohms. So that confirms to me that the little circuit board on here is dead. Again, the cluster is not the issue. We were able to do some testing and make the gauge actually move on the cluster by doing a little bypass. So I know the wiring's good, the power, the ground is good, the cluster is good. I just need a new sending unit, which is on order at the moment. That will make the gas gauge work again. And it's like a couple, $300 for this little thing. And you guys know we have replaced the fuel pumps. Here's the old ones. You can put power directly to them and they won't even do anything. They're completely dead. So from this vehicle sitting, it killed the fuel pumps. It also killed the sending unit. This is something to keep in mind whenever you have a car. You say, well, it's been sitting for 15 years. Can you get it going again? In the fuel system, just about everything is going to be shot if it's an older system especially. Luckily, the injectors and everything is happy on this car. It's running fine. But usually things inside the fuel tank on something that's been sitting a long time, you just better start writing the list. It's going to add up fast. Line after line after line after line. And we also put a new fuel filter. This is the old one. This car has a conglomeration of different electrical brands. There's Delphi, there's Motorcraft, because it was Ford. It was owned by Ford at the time. There's also Lucas. Lucas is still here. The Prince of Darkness is still in this car. And you can see that he definitely took out this instrument cluster for us. Thank you, Lucas. Actually, I don't even know if Lucas makes that. I'm just joking, guys. But it still had one code left. It said that there was an oxygen sensor heater circuit malfunction or short. We actually pulled the O2 sensors off, the forward ones or the front ones. We found this one here. It should measure about one ohm or so. Let me put it back on ohms again. Let me go ahead and put it on these pins here. We have 52,000 ohms. That tells me that the heater circuit is dead on that sensor. So those things were not known about. This is a situation where you go in and say, I just want to get it running again. And then you get it running again only to find out that the list is continuing. More parts and more parts and more parts. And you would be surprised how many times I've had to make phone calls to a customer and they say, I really didn't anticipate or envision that it would be this in depth. I knew it had been sitting for 15 years or 10 years or whatever. I thought a few items get fixed and we're back on the road, and it just keeps tallying up more and more and more. So if your car's been sitting for a long time, you can expect a very big repair bill. So I'll get by cheap on this one. No, you won't. And the customer we're dealing with here is very nice. We don't have any troubles with him at all. I'm just letting you guys know it can add up so fast. So we have the cluster issue solved, only to find out that the fuel gauge sending unit is dead. So we replaced that. And we were able to read that there's an O2 sensor that was bad. Once those items come in, we get those replaced. We'll do some final road tests. The only thing that this car will leave this shop that's a negative aspect to the repairs that we've done is that it shows 101,000 miles, even though the car only has 40. There's really nothing that we can do about that. But I'm sure the customer is going to be very happy with the fact that at least his cluster is just working again. The final thing that we had to check, it was a left front wheel speed sensor. We were thinking either the sensor could be bad, but I know from experience on these years of Jaguar, whether it be an XJ or an XK, they do have problems with the ABS module. Let's take a look where that's at. It's right here, and these lines go up over it. It's not the whole thing that goes bad, it's just a little black electronic box. And when they fail, it'll have reduced power, all kinds of other different messages and things going on. You'll just either unhook these, whatever you feel comfortable with, or kind of bend them lightly out of the way, and you're able to sneak this module out of there. So once you get that little box out, you can send it off. I've sent off numerous of those to get rebuilt. There's pins and things that the solder cracks, and they have to go through and resolder it all. You get it back, and the codes are gone. The car's happy again. But luckily, on this one, it was just this connector. This is the main connector that goes into it. We were able to slide this up and pull the connector off. It's kind of hard to get off, but you get the idea. We were able to clean the contacts with some Stabilant 22 is what we use here. Put it back on, and we got a good reading again. It was happy again. When we were able to clean those pins, it took care of it. The code went away, and all wheels started reading properly again. We got very, very lucky on that one. So as I mentioned, getting the cluster fixed allowed us to finally see, there's much more problems going on. But they're slowly getting knocked out and solved. It won't be very much longer, and this car will be road ready and ready to go back home. So we're finishing up on this one. You guys have recently seen Bill's Alfa Romeo. No, it's not Alfa Romero. I see that on Facebook Marketplace so much. It's not a Romero. Take the R out. There's no R in Alfa Romeo. Anyways, you see the Milano back there. All the issues that he asked us to fix was 3 items. We solved those items. Those items are still happy, but there's more problems with the car. He's having some issues going on with the fuel pump or the fuel system. He's got new exhaust. We're going to show putting that back on, and also a couple other issues he'd like checked out. So you definitely want to watch for that. We're going to be starting on that next week. That's going to be a great video for you guys. And another video that's coming up that you guys are not going to want to miss out on is the 380 SL I have on the lift behind me. It was having some issues with when it got warm, it would run really bad. And the reason why is going to blow you guys' mind. It is absolutely crazy. You don't want to miss out on that. If you're curious what kind of tools we use in the shop to fix this Jag or various other vehicles, and kind of like the voltmeter or the multimeter that we used over there, that'll be listed as well on our Amazon affiliates page in the link below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And just like you just saw, there's some sweet videos coming ahead. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. You guys don't want to miss out. Thanks for watching.